what's going on the other side of the aisle? Does the GOP have a plan? Well, let's ask a Republican. Joining me now is Representative Peter Roskam of Illinois. Welcome to you, sir.
Hey, delighted to be here. Thank you.
All right, well, you know, let's first talk about what you make of all the many things that the White House is proposing over the last couple of days and into Wednesday. We've got everything from write-offs for plant and equipment, possibly some R&D tax credits. We're also talking about infrastructure spending. For goodness sakes, if we're going to spend that kind of money, we should be able to create some jobs. Do you agree, and do you like these proposals?
Look, for the past 19 months, we've been hearing from this administration that you can basically borrow and spend your way into prosperity, and it's just complete nonsense. The country spent $1 trillion and has nothing to show for it. Now, I've got a state, Illinois, where unemployment is over 10%, and now the president is saying, let's spend another $50 billion when we've already spent $1 trillion, and now it's being fashioned as infrastructure. Wasn't that the exact same argument that we heard before? So I think the doubling down on the spending is nonsense. Now, turning to the tax issues, yeah, we should make permanent the research and development tax credit. And I think finally the White House is acknowledging that tax policy and creating incentives helps business. But we should be doing that at the beginning of the year, not three-quarters of the way into the year.
You know, I look at this, and many of these proposals, not the infrastructure spending, but the business tax credits, and goodness, it looks like a page right out of the Republican playbook. It seems like you should be happy about should have their own plan for bringing back this economy. But you know what, Representative? I'm not hearing that.
Well, here's the good news. Republicans do have a plan. Republicans had an alternative back. Well, let me tell you, the Republicans had an alternative to the stimulus package that was very, very thoughtful, according to President Obama's own chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, Dr. Christina Romer. Using her peer-reviewed data, it would have created twice the jobs at half the cost. But Speaker Pelosi rejected it. We had our own alternative on health care, rejected by the Speaker. Had our own alternative on cap and trade, again rejected. Had our own budget that was thoughtful and didn't triple the national debt. But I think what most Americans are looking for right now is ways to create predictability within the economy. And
and that's Congressman, pardon me, with all due respect, sir, I keep hearing that there's a Republican plan coming, that it's going to be announced and announced soon. And the only thing I hear from Republicans is we want to extend the Bush tax cuts, but nothing else. What else should be on that list?
Well, I think that there's a number of things, but think about how important those tax cuts are before you dismiss them very quickly.
I'm not dismissing them out of hand, and we talk about them every day. I'm wondering what else is on your list.
Well, the other thing that's on the list is to begin to have predictability as it relates to the regulatory regime that's out there right now. Think about the businesses in my district. Right now, they don't know if they're a foot or horseback as it relates to the cost of health care. Why? Because the Secretary of Health and Human Services hasn't promulgated the rules. They don't know if it's going to cost them or how much it's going to cost them. Think about the Environmental Protection Agency that right now is threatening to do an end run around Congress and put cap and trade in place that is incredibly controversial. Or the testimony before the President's own debt commission that says that if you continue to spend and GDP gets over 90%, which is where we are right now, the debt to GDP ratio, then it costs 1 million jobs. So what Republicans are saying is bring predictability to the tax code, get the regulatory regime in place, stop the nonsense and the anti-business rhetoric that we see coming out of Washington, D.C., and let the economy flourish once again.
Just not doing much, really. It's more about extending those tax cuts, and my understanding of the Republican platform, you'd want to extend them for everybody, up and down the pay scale, and then stop changing the rules. Is that what you're saying?
Well, in a nutshell, you do need to create predictability. And when the administration comes out with one proposal after another that's based on a failed model, frankly, but they seem to be making it up as they go along, it's not helpful. Think about it. We're 20 months into this administration, and rather than the Democrats in Congress running on the accomplishments, they're running away from their accomplishments.
Yeah, we know that
and
some Democrats are actually going to be
right
are
now.
already saying I didn't vote for health care. Let me ask you this simple question, though. How do we create jobs?
You create jobs by creating certainty within the marketplace. So the type of person that I represent in the west and northwest suburbs of Chicago, let's say you're a $30 million company and you got 100 employees. Right now, that employer says to themselves, I don't know what taxes are going to be next year, so I'm not going to do much. I don't know what health care is going to cost, so I'm not going to bring on new employers. They're bunkering down in survival mode because they don't know the ground rules.
Right.
I would submit to you that once they do know the ground rules and you create certainty and predictability, then they can move forward. But you don't double down and keep spending and spending
right.
and spending when
Let
it
me
has
ask you
been
this.
completely squandered.
You know, we've raised the deficit by $3 trillion, the federal debt by $3 trillion over the last couple of years with a number of programs oriented to fixing the economy and getting people employed. There are still 14.9 million people unemployed in this country. How will the Republicans fix that?
Well, the Republicans fix that by recognizing that the way you do that, the way you create employees, is by allowing employers to flourish. Think about the irony of the Obama administration right now saying we need to cut taxes in this area, but among job creators, and that is 94% of small businesses that actually file their income taxes in such a way that they're affected by individual tax rates. If you're earning $250,000 and above, then that's going to be at risk. What we're saying is don't put that at risk. Don't make it more expensive for people that are creating jobs. Don't take a dollar out of that private sector to feed the government. Instead, let that stay in the private sector. But again, certainty is key here. And right now, it is so uncertain that risk-adverse people are sitting back and saying, I'm not going in this economy. I'm going to wait to see what everybody else does. And that's creating just a great deal of hesitation
Roskam,
all the way around.
Will we get a new contract with America from the Republicans?
I think that what is going to end up happening is in the next several weeks, there's going to be Republicans who have been listening to their constituents all across the country. They're going to be gathering in Washington, D.C., and are going to be saying, this is the agenda that we need to move right now.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.